Subscribe to AmpCode and ring the notification bell to get the latest content.
Hello and welcome back. In the previous lecture we have seen all about what are nothing but distributed storage solution and why they are such a vital component of every data driven solution. So here let's compare some of the various storage options which are available and very popular nowadays, which is nothing but the Azure Blob storage and the AWS S3. So I hope you already know about all the storage. If not, these are one of the most popular cloud storage solutions which are available in the market right now. So basically we'll go over some of the characteristics and compare both these storage solutions and let's see which one would be the right choice for you. So without further ado, let's get into it. So let me tell you first thing that they are quite similar in terms of all the characteristics that are listed here and that we are going to talk about, but there are some small differences as well which make you decide which storage solution will be right for your use case. So let's jump into the first characteristic, which is nothing but the use case, which is the most important. So basically if you want to store the unstructured data, so your data could be present in the text file, images, videos, what's not, then Azure Blob storage is a good storage solution because it will give you the capability to store and manage unstructured data as well. And also it is useful for ingesting and processing large amount of data, and also you can store and manage the data for your machine learning and the AI models, and also you can build scalable and cost effective data processing pipelines. So these are the key use cases. So if any of your use case lies between these needs, then Azure Blob storage is a good solution. It can also use for archiving data for long-term retention. So it can have different cost brackets, different categories for storing your archived data and creating the backups as well as disaster recovery options. So because of this, Azure Blob storage is a pretty versatile tool. Let's talk about and compare it to the AWS S3. So you can store as well as retrieve large amount of data here as well. And let me tell you one thing, that Amazon S3, which is nothing but AWS S3, is very cost effective solution as well as the scalable. But so if your use case lies on hosting a static website and distributing software packages, then this solution is a good option. And also if you have backup and disaster recovery solution, then also AWS S3 is a well choice for you. So similar to Azure Blob storage, it provides great options for storing and archiving your data for disaster recovery, as well as if you have any data lake solution or the data analytics solutions, so you can use AWS S3 as compared to the Azure Blob storage. And also for media storage as well as the distribution, then also AWS S3 is far better than the Azure Blob storage. So this was all about the use cases. Let's talk about when not to use particular storage solution for your data system. So basically if you want to store small structured data, which is nothing but if you want to store small structured data, let's say if your table has only thousands of rows or hundreds of rows, then you should avoid using Azure Blob storage because it may not be the efficient solution. Also if you have low frequency access to the data, then you should avoid that because it would not be that much cost effective as compared to the AWS S3. And also if you have a real-time transactional data processing, then you should definitely avoid Azure Blob storage. You can either move to the AWS S3 or any other distributed storage solution which are available in the market. But if you talk about the AWS S3 in particular, then if the application which requires low latency storages, then that time AWS S3 might not be the best choice in the market. Also some of the applications will require native data transformation, as well as some will require real-time data processing. So for these applications, definitely there are better options that are available in the market today, and you should avoid AWS S3 for these use cases as well. Also let's talk about the type of data processing now. So the blob storage will provide you the batch processing, as well as the real-time processing of the large data set. So we have already seen what is batch processing, what is real-time processing, and what are the tools and technologies needed for both application. But at a storage layer, Azure Blob Storage will be a good option for the same, as well as it will allow you to store data for the long-term retention. So you can have like different buckets, you can have like different categories of your data which is stored for short amount of time, long amount of time. So according to that, it will give you the capability to store the long-term retention data, as well as we can also use it for business intelligence, as well as the intermediate layer for your machine learning and AI algorithms output. Also, if you talk about the AWS S3, then it is designed to store as well as retrieve any amounts of data from anywhere on the web. So if you are hosting a static website, it's great choice for Azure storage solution. And it also supports like batch mode or the real-time data, as well as depending upon the application's requirement. So if your application is pretty critical and it needs the real-time data analytics, then AWS S3 is a good choice. But as we already told you that it may not be the best choice for handling real-time transactional data. Now let's talk about some of the serious characteristics, which is nothing but the data ingestion. So it will provide you simple and cost-effective way for ingesting large amount of data. And large amount of data means the data coming at a high volume and a high velocity. As well, the data could be coming from various sources. It could be present as a flat file, it could be present as a relational database, or else it could be coming from web or any sensor if it is coming from a real-time source. Also, like it will support you the data ingestion from on-premise or the cloud-based sources. So it includes like IoT devices, as we already talked about, then the streaming data sources and many more. So it handles vast variety of data sources, and similar to S3 as well, because S3 also provides a very simple and scalable way for ingesting data from like various sources. So it could include like IoT devices as well as any application, and it supports like multiple ingestion methods, such as it will provide you the batch uploads, event notification, as well as the real-time data streaming. Now let's talk about the data transformation. So there are like different functionalities in each of these services. Like Azure, there could be different services for data transformation. So we have like the Azure Functions, Azure Logic Apps, as well as many other Azure services which are used for transforming and processing your data so that it could be present in the required format. So similarly, AWS S3 will not provide you the native data transformation capabilities, but it well integrates with their own set of tools like the AWS Glue, AWS Lambda, which can use for transforming your data to get it into the right shape. If we talk about the machine learning support, which is nothing but our next characteristic, then it has like built-in machine learning, as well as it has the built-in support for machine learning as well as the artificial intelligence pipelines. So we can use it to store and manage large chunks of data for training machine learning models, as well as evaluating your models as well. And similarly on the AWS S3, it provides the support through the Amazon SageMaker, which is nothing but a fully managed service provided by AWS, which will enable developer and data scientists to build, train, as well as deploy your machine learning solutions. So if you talk about the machine learning capability and the machine learning supports, AWS S3 wins here because it has a great tool known as SageMaker, which is nothing but a fully managed service, which you don't need to worry about the administrative task. It is covered and managed by AWS, and you just worry about developing, training, and deploying your machine learning pipelines without any hassle. So that's all about the machine learning support. And if we talk about the query language, then the blob storage supports SQL-like query language, which is nothing but the blob storage query, which is BSQ. So this is similar to SQL syntax. So many of the business analysts or data engineers or data analysts will know the SQL. So it will be pretty easier to mess up with to work with your data. And also on the S3 side, it also supports a SQL-like query language for querying the data which is stored in S3, but you have to make sure that the data is in the structured format, which is nothing but rows and columns. The next one is the deployment model. So the blob storage is deployed in the cloud, on premises, or maybe a hybrid approach if you are handling sensitive data on premise and maybe not that much critical or sensitive data on cloud. So it provides you the scalable and reliable as well as a secure storage solution for your use case. And if you talk about the AWS S3, it is nothing but fully managed. It is nothing but a fully managed service which is provided by AWS, and it is deployed on the cloud. So it has the benefit of the cost effectiveness and as well as the scalability and high availability since it's on a cloud. And also user can access it through a API or the web interface as we already know it. And if we talk about the integration with the other services, because it needs to be integrated with multiple tools for working with your data. So basically the blob storage can be integrated with other Azure services, which includes the Azure Data Factory, which is pretty popular tool to work with your data, as well as we have the stream analytics, the Azure functions that we already talked about, and many more services provided by Azure. And it also supports like third-party services like the Power BI, Tableau, the Apache Spark, which is a pretty phenomenal tool which I already talked about. Then if you talk about AWS S3, it has its own set of ecosystem and set of tools to work with the data stored in the S3 buckets. So it comes with the EC2, the Lambda functions, the Kinesis, and the EMR, which is nothing but Hadoop on the cloud, which is EMR, which is nothing but Hadoop on cloud for processing your data for your data solution. So this is all about the integration. If you talk about the security, which is the most concerning part of every cloud storage solution, so it provides you multiple layer of security. If you talk about the Azure Blob storage, it will give you the encryption for in rest as well as in transit, as well as access controls using the Azure Active Directory, which is a popular service for managing the accesses across your organization. But if you talk about the S3, it will provide you the several security features, which is nothing but the access control, encryption, as well as data protection policies for ensuring the security of your data. So both will go hand in hand if you talk about the security. Also, if you talk about the pricing model, which is very important, so Azure Blob Storage will use the pay-as-you-go pricing model based on the amount of data which is stored on your system, as well as the number of requests which are made for accessing, as well as request has been made for accessing the data, as well as the amount of data is transferred, and access tiers, various tiers, as well as we already talked about, for helping optimizing the storage cost. And on the other hand, it also has the pay-as-you-go model if you talk about AWS S3, and which means that you only have to pay for what you're using. So basically the amount of data which is stored, as well as the amount of requests made, amount of data which is accessed from these cloud storages will incur the cost, and according to that you have to pay the bill for AWS for your data solution. And if we talk about scalability, both are highly scalable. So Azure Blob Storage provides a highly scalable storage solution, and also it can scale up to petabytes of data. And on the other hand, it can also accommodate high volumes of data and at high velocity. So it can automatically scale up as well as scale down according to your needs. So it is a fully managed service. You don't have to set up anything like the storage that you need. It will scale up automatically, as you already talked about. And at last, there are another 3 characteristics. The first one is the performance. So Azure Blob Storage provides you the higher performance as well as AWS S3. So the both storage solutions are nothing but very high performance storage solutions, and they can handle large data set with the high volumes of requests. And on the other hand, AWS S3 can also have very low latency for the data access. And if we talk about the availability, the blob storage is a very highly available solution and durable for storing your data. And also it will use the multiple redundant copies to make sure that your data is not lost if any of the data node gets down. And as if we talk about the AWS S3, it is nothing but a step ahead of AWS step ahead of Azure Blob storage because it has high availability and durability as well as a service level agreement, which is SLA of 99.9999% for object durability. So you can see how much storage solution is durable. And if you talk about the reliability, both will comes with a reliable and secure storage solution. So if you are handling like a confidential data of your customers, then you don't have to worry about it. It will provide you the encryption at rest as well as in transit, and it is a pretty safe space because of the higher availability, the redundancy, because you have the copies of the data stored across the cluster. So both these systems are highly reliable in nature. So you can go with both of them. So these are nothing but the smaller differences between these services because there are not many. They are quite similar. The only differences are that the different types of tools and their native services which it integrates with. So this is all about the comparison between the Azure Blob storage and the AWS S3.
So that's it for today. I'll see you in the next lecture.